Chapter 1. Out of the Stable. Because in Stable 2, no pony ever enters and no pony ever leaves. Grey. The walls of the maintenance stalls were all a very monotonous, dull grey. The particular wall I was staring at had the merit of being a very clean grey. Pip-bucks were notoriously hardy and reliable, so being the stable's pip-buck technician meant that there were long periods of nothing to do. Being the pip-buck technician's apprentice meant that I was assigned all the mundane daily chores while my trainer took extended naps in the back room. Chores like cleaning the walls. This wall needs a mural. I let myself fantasize, picturing the overmare agreeing and ordering Pallet herself to turn our entire stall into one of her brightly colorful masterpieces. Pallet was the greatest painter in Stable 2, and like every skilled artist, that made her a stable treasure. Life in Stable 2 inevitably began to eat at your spirit. You were born in the stable. You lived your whole life in the stable. You were going to die there. And the course of your life was largely laid out for you to see by your Cutie Mark party. So the Overmare insisted that a new song be added to the stable broadcast's repertoire every week, that public areas were brightly painted and adorned with uplifting and motivational murals, that regular parties were planned in the atrium, all in an effort to distract and stave off depression. Reality came crashing back as I stared at the eternally blank gray. Beautifying maintenance areas was a tragically low priority already, and the Pip-buck technician stall was one of the least trafficked parts of maintenance. I felt my ears droop as I started to realize that I'd be staring at this same gray wall nearly every day for the rest of my life. Oh dear, is it really that bad? And there she was. Velvet Remedy, the gorgeous charcoal-coated unicorn with streaks of color in her white mane, and with a voice as smooth as silk and rich as finest chocolate, was standing in the doorway of my stall. I felt immediately grateful that I had finished the cleaning and simultaneously ashamed that the room was so beneath her. I couldn't believe she was standing there. I'd seen her on the stage above us at late parties. I'd listened to her songs incessantly, recording every new one on my Pip-buck so that I didn't have to wait to hear it again. I'll admit it now. I'd had a crush on Velvet Remedy for years. "Little Pip," she would say, chortling with her friends, "Velvet Remedy's barn door doesn't swing that way." It took me a couple years to understand what my mother had meant by that, and it took me several seconds to process that Velvet Remedy had just asked me something. Huh? Wonderful response, Little Pip. So elegant. I wanted to dig my way through the concrete floor and pull the chunks over the top of me. She smiled sweetly. She smiled at me, and in that amazing voice, "You looked so heartbroken when I came in. Is there anything I can do?" Velvet Remedy offered to help me. I was shocked back to my senses. Velvet Remedy must have some reason to be down here. Some Pip-buck reason. It wasn't like she would just go wandering around maintenance, after all. Looking around, I realized that I was the only pony on duty. My teacher was, as usual, asleep in his office. It was nothing." I tried to regain composure. "How may I be of assistance?" Velvet Remedy's expression was both compassionate and unconvinced, but she lifted a forehoof, raising her Pip-buck up to my gaze. A more elegant model than mine, with her initials and Cutie Mark, a beautiful bird with wings outstretched and a beak opened in song, embellishing it tastefully. "I hate to be a bother, but it's begun to chafe. Could you replace the padding?" "Oh, absolutely." I was already levitating the special keys used to unlock a Pip-buck from a pony's foreleg. As an apprentice Pip-buck technician, I had all manner of special precision tools in the pockets of my utility barding. "I'll have it done in a right quick." The Pip-buck came off with a click. Velvet Remedy chuckled hesitantly, lowering her hoof. "Oh, no, that's all right. Take your time. I'm going to put some salve on this leg back in my room and rest up for the afternoon." That's right. Velvet Remedy was performing at the Stable 2 Saloon tomorrow night. I would have to polish it up, make it worthy of being worn above her hoof. If I spent all night on it, I could give it a full tune-up, have it running as smoothly as the day she got it, and still have it back to her before the show. All right, I'll have it back to you by this time tomorrow. You won't be disappointed, I promise. She smiled at me again, and all the gray in the world couldn't darken my day. Thank you. And then she turned to go. I watched as her cutie mark disappeared around the doorway. Then she was gone. The next day, I was whistling one of Velvet Remedy's songs as I walked down the halls towards her room. Her Pip-Buck was hovering along beside me in a field of magical levitation, freshly padded with the best lining I could find, looking shiny and new. I was tired from a long night of work, but in high spirits. Velvet Remedy was going to be so happy with my work. Turning the corner, I was startled out of my reverie by the mass of ponies gathered outside Velvet Remedy's room. Damn, I was going to have to battle my way through hoof-print seekers and paparazzi. Levitating the Pip-Buck higher, I started to shove my way into the crowd. She's gone! How could she leave? The hushed voices and panicked whinnies around me grew alarming. Why would she abandon us? Gone? Velvet Remedy was gone? And then the words that stopped me cold. I didn't think the stable door could even open. She was gone outside? Don't worry, every pony, boomed the voice of the overmare from somewhere in the crowd. I have the tag of each and every pony in the stable. I will personally send out a rescue party. We'll have our Velvet back by the end of the day. Worry not. I felt like I was drowning in cold, wet cement. My gaze slowly moved up towards the Pip-Buck floating above me. I lowered my head, slowly trying to back out of the crowd, curling the floating Pip-Buck close. When the overmare brought up Velvet Remedy's tag, it would lead every pony not to Velvet, but to her Pip-Buck, sitting in the maintenance. With a thump, I backed into some pony, startling me enough that the levitation field evaporated in a poof, and the clean and shiny Pip-Buck clattered to the floor. Turning, I found myself eye to eye with the overmare. She didn't speak, her gaze turning to the Pip-Buck on the ground, Velvet Remedy's initials and cutie mark clearly visible. What is this? The overmare spoke slowly, dangerously. All eyes turned to me. I could feel every pair of eyes. Nobody spoke. The silence bore down like a lead blanket. My mouth went dry. I couldn't find my voice. I didn't need to. I could feel the wave of loathing. Dozens of Velvet Remedy fan ponies, and I was the pony holding the reason why their idol was lost to them. The overmare's voice was low and surprisingly gentle. Take it and go to your room. Swiftly. She didn't need to tell me twice.